Okay, let's go. Start it up. A little stop and start action. Go ahead. All right, as we learned before, volume is the length times the width times the height. We'll do a little bit better study of that later in the year for a much deeper perspective. But for now, this will do. Volume is 8 foot by 3 foot by 1/12 of a foot. You cannot put one there because they all have to be the same units. So I convert 1 inch to 1/12 of a foot. A little multiplication there gives you 2 cubic feet. But don't forget, it's 53 pounds per cubic feet. So 2 times 53, and the cubic feet go die or cancel each other out. And that's 106 pounds. Maybe they were abducted by aliens or Sasquatch squished them. Who knows? I just know it's 106 pounds. Now, simple interest problem. There's a reminder of what everything stands for. There's the problem itself for you to do. Begin, stop, and start. You know how this works. Okay, so interest is principal times rate times time, which is $8,500 times 0.03. You must convert the interest rate to a decimal times the time. That works out to $1,020. But there's actually 3 questions about this. Getting to the 1,020, I think, is pretty simple. How much money does Todd owe? Well, he's going to owe not just the 1,020, but he also owes the amount he borrowed. So altogether, he owes $95.20. And if you want to see how much he has to pay back in 48 months per month, he's got to take that whole $95.20 and you got to divide it by 48. So that's $198.33 per month. Okay. So here's 2 more simple interest problems for you. Go ahead. Okay, so for number 6, buying that laptop computer, we're borrowing $2,000 for 3 years at 5% interest. And if I multiply that all out, I'm going to get $300. So that's how much interest she will pay. What's the total amount to repay? The cost of the laptop plus the interest, which is $2,300. Now we go to number 7, where TJ invests $4,000 in a bond with a yearly rate of 2%, and they tell you something different this time. They tell you, hey, he gets $200 in interest. How long was the money invested? I equals PRT. 200 goes in the interest place this time, and the time is what you're looking for. So it's 4,000 times 0.02 times the time. Now, 4,000 times 0.02 is 80, dividing by the 80, and I get that my time is 2.5. So those are simple interest problems. It's not the only kind of interest we learned about. We also learned about compound interest. And most of the time, you just do, it's compounded annually, so n works out to be 1. But sometimes it's compounded like monthly, so that would be 12 times per year, and sometimes quarterly, which would be 4 times per year. Okay, here are 2 questions for you to do. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to just use the formula, just copy it and plug it in. The principal, the amount we start with, $2,500. 1 plus the interest rate is 10%, and it only gets compounded annually, so the n is 1 for 1 time a year, and it's going to be for 7 years. So that's 2,500 times 1.1 to the 7th power. If you have any problems with that, just do it on the calculator. Literally just type in parenthesis 1 plus 0.10 divided by, or fraction 1, close the parenthesis. It'll tell you. And altogether, you get $4,871.79. For the next one, you're doing $25,000 for 3 years. Same formula. There's my $25,000. This time it's only 5%, so 1 plus 0.05, and 3 years. It's compounded once a year, so that's why the 1 is under the 0.05 and in front of the 3, because that's what the n stands for. How many times per year? So 25,000 times 1.05 to the 3rd power is 28,940.63. Okay, our last review question of the section. If you have a question about the formula, I would just refer to the photograph on your phone that I said you should have in that folder. Here's your formula. A equals principal times 1 plus r over n to the nt power. $10,000 times 1 plus 0.0275. But here's your big difference. This time it's compounded monthly. So n is 12. So you must put a 12 here. And then 12 times 5. These two numbers always match. It's both of them are n, the number of times calculated per year. So that's 10,000 times. And then on your calculator, you just type in 1 plus 0.0275 divided by 12. And it'll give you that number, 1.002291. And it's to the 60th power because 12 times 5 is 60. And it'll tell you 11,472.21. So the biggie on this one is to be careful. When it says compounded monthly, you know that denominator has to be 12. And since these match, they're both n, we also have 12 there. Just some key points to remember about simple interest and compound interest. Simple interest is interest on principal only, and compound interest is interest on the principal and the interest on the interest, and the interest on the interest. It is also the key to financial independence. Handled correctly, and it will crush you if handled wrong. And we're in the middle of learning all about that. By the end of the week, you'll know a ton about it with mortgages and such. All right, next up will be classroom contemplations.